Guys, thank you so much for joining me, talking to you a little bit about the month of December. So, fortunate people are seeing now we are heading towards the end of the Tiger year. So, there's going to be a very obvious display. If you have made something obvious, it will be true. So, for example, if you have started your course of study, or if you got to know yourself better, if you have become very, very well off, or you have just started a wonderful job, is going to become very obvious and neat and tidy. So we are going eventually into the rabbit year, and predictions for the rabbit year are out now in book form. Have a look at the book. It is in the caption section below. And yes, I will be doing also videos for all signs for the next year to come. So the next year is rabbit year. And the rabbit year is not about bolshy big moves, and we're already starting to feel it as people are getting a tiny little bit more conservative and a little bit more clear on the results. So we want things to be clean and we want them to be precise. So it's starting, there is judgment, or there is a certain type of definite system that people have to do things by. There are new laws and systems and regulations in place, and yet it's not all about us. It's not really all about you and me, but we are starting to see a show of hands, or a show of sorts, as we are learning about what these systems are starting to bring into our communities. So there might be new systems of faith and trust. There could be new political systems. There could be also other types of things that people are involving themselves in to clean up and to make things more obvious and to make things in a way more beautiful, harmonious, or more perfect. I also don't think so. I feel that there are some people that are still developing things that are not true and not certain, and there is a certain lack of kindness and lack of simplicity to some people's designs and their lives as well, and what they think is true and what they believe isn't true. So there is like a very big question arising within me, as I believe also could be within other people. What is this really giving me? So what are these truths, or what are these conservative structures in place, especially rule books and regulations, really leaving us with eventually? Not wanting to be left behind. Quite a lot of people wanting to do something else, quite a lot of people wanting to do something mega, not to get left behind. Also the question with cryptocurrency, as I'm seeing a lot of people are talking about that online, not that many, but some. And yeah, so we have to basically understand what is going on. There is a wave of trust and a wave of healing in the world. There are needed results, and also some people are not really needing to produce anything, but they're doing that just not to get left behind. People are starting to scramble. They want to put their music out there, they want to put their stories out there, they want to be on television, or they want to be noticed, they want to be known of, they want to be philosophers, or they want to be healers and very big proud warriors. But not every single person has what it takes now to produce and to be that up and coming person. Also, if you've waited for such a long time and you've been in self-criticism or criticism of other people, you didn't quite let yourself just go for it and bring it and push yourself or initiate yourself for other people during this Tiger year. There's going to be a very finite way that you can do it, but to a degree. So not for everybody right now to speak out and bust out and burst out in this big ray of sunshine, this big ray of freedom, because not every single person is kind of welcomed to take the place of the leader, the teacher, the healer, or the prophet. There are certain people that are now coming through that are very prophetic, and there are very wise words spoken to people that have probably been speaking those words for a very long time. There is something in the background happening with them too, and maybe on the foreground also something to expect, but there is going to be a next level, next generation healer awakening in you or in anybody that's already healing and that's been very much in bliss doing what they do. People that have already started something years ago might be able to go to the next level of the same thing. So for example, if you've been a writer for many years, you might get a huge bout of inspiration and your writer's block is gone, and you suddenly are just dancing along the pages, and you can pretend to be anything, anybody, you can be whoever you are, however you are, and you can imagine or reimagine worlds. So some people are very, very good at it. Some people have also become stuck and unkind to themselves simply for the lack of belief in who they are. This whole year is themed with Tiger, and it is about belief and trust and faith and the one energy, maybe the one future or the one feeling or faith. And not every single person is as bulky or as conscious or as courageous as that. So if you've come to a certain type of build up, also you have to understand it. For example, I have so much things to think about. I can't yet do the thing I really want to do. Okay, I have so many people to please. I don't know how to be myself, or I have so much like stuff to do. I don't have any time in the day. We have to really see it for ourselves, for our own worth, for our sakes. If we have been doing things that are deliberate to also block the flow of nature. So if you kind of wanted to be the one on the side and you never wanted to be the one in the middle, in the eye of the storm, that's going to show. If you never wanted anybody to really understand you or get you, that's going to be clear. If you've been hiding behind an artificial system, if you've wanted to be an artificial person to somebody else, and if you try to be economical in a way by possessing yourself with things that are not of your future, not really of your frequency, to be able to hide within those things and to be able to somehow master yourself within a probable or believable spectrum, and not wanting to be part of the future, not wanting to be part of those shocking new vibrations that are coming through these days. That is very probable. Very likely people have wanted to hide themselves away during Tiger, and who do we become? We become hiding, shallow people. We don't have enough heart, we don't have enough self-belief, or we don't have enough belief in the system as it is. Also, Sagittarius is going to really poke out the faults and the truths within all of this. Also have to state that Mars is in the opposite side still. It's still in Gemini and it's in retrograde, and we don't really have a lot of leeway to go now unless we really, really want to get things a little bit maybe karmic, and in some cases chaotic, and very exciting to be able to break through that ego and that stagnancy and that disbalance with our own organs and our own systems and our own beauty and our own ideologies, because we don't want to sit around all day. We don't want to be rabbits before the rabbit year comes. We don't want to live like mice, basically. So what makes a mouse, or what makes a man? Are you a man or a mouse? That's a famous saying. If you don't really want yourself to sit around a lot and wait for other people to make decisions for you, it's not maybe going to be those people that survive eventually certain things. Also surviving an industry or doing well at all. Being good to yourself does not begin with just being normal and probable for other people. It does not believe in itself. That's why. So conformist behavior and seeking conformity still in a Tiger year is a very large and vast problem, as I'm seeing probably in certain places in the world. Majority of population would rather keep it tight and quiet than do anything, and that is going to prepare us for some really truly needed chaos, believe it or not, in the years to come, simply because we have to shake up the system, and the system begins with you. So it's not just the man out there, it's not the government, it's not the pain of the world, it's sometimes what you are feeling and what you are capable of, and how you have been envisioning yourself and your future and the future of your children and your species and such. So it's not just about making money and keeping safe now. It's not just about being a good person and looking good on the outside. It is now about the full scream of the heart and the conscious probables that this world should probably now be giving us by default. So we want to initiate each other. And that means that there's going to be some definite fun and games, quote unquote, or there's going to be some very big probables for disaster and disintegration in society as I'm looking at it today, simply because we don't want to just sit there. And we also don't want other people to be doing that which we don't want them to do. So it gets bossy. If you haven't figured out your core, if you haven't figured out your heart and your extremes during Tiger, or your sensitivity hasn't been touched, if you've been playing it sort of safe, you will not maybe get the chance to speak now. So it might not be that easy, but see, you have to understand people will start to prod you. So why do we have that game between the employed and the employer? So like, why do we have like the boss and the managers and all of that? What for do we have bosses and managers? Like, why do we have these big frontiers for certain souls, and others are stuck within the 9 to 5 jobs and the desk job experience? What for? Some people just sit there and just like wait till the morning comes, and they don't even sleep. They kind of like sort of shuffle about their world. What makes us is because there's not enough courage, and maybe sometimes not enough rage, and other people might push you to do things you can't do yourself. So being bossed around, being managed, being kept on task, somebody else telling you how to do it, somebody else pushing you towards service. And what for? That happens because you haven't worked yourself out yet. So we have to close that down. We don't want to do that. By now, most people that don't know really how to act or how to be in this world just haven't got enough energy, money, or time, or they haven't learned themselves enough, or they haven't become proficient enough. And what can I say? What can I do? So this is like the time of the sage. This is also Gemini Mars. We have to be very, very kind and ambitious and keep on going. And even if you haven't done anything this year, even if you haven't reached your level, the next level, it has to be an okay feeling that maybe you've tried or maybe you didn't. Maybe you just wanted everybody to feel good about themselves and you wanted to keep things healthy and clean, and that's also okay. But here we have a question mark, and yes, some people have to go through chaos in order to solve this question mark. So what do I mean chaos? Initiative experiences, initiative behavior, having to go through quite a lot of work, having to mind so many different aspects of your life at the same time, having a multiverse of problems to solve, or a problem after problem, or having to come to a very intense conclusion. And the reason why this really works, sometimes, like for me in my life, it's worked, is because I just had to wake up and get up and do something. So this feeling of passivity sometimes really hurts and burdens. And yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about seasons and passivity, or shadow states needed to be able to balance out the light states. So here, for example, if you haven't been sleeping a lot, if you haven't got your circadian rhythms together, if you don't eat well, if you don't understand nature, if you don't spend enough time outside, yeah, of course, it's going to have to be put to work. Something's got to have to change. Saying no to the computer and television after 8 o'clock, or even 7, saying no to certain friends, saying no to certain algorithms, because something about you might be distorted, and the reason is because you have been blocked from certain oneness, from certain one big thing to happen in your life, or these big one like in a million ideas, or these once in a lifetime changes, because you've just been habitually putting yourself in things you don't need to put yourself into. So social media, eventually closing that stuff down. I also have to do that really solidly. Closing down Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, closing down distractions, closing down responsibilities and opportunities over other people that you have nothing to do with, closing down your judgment of other people's lives. Very important. Yeah. Closing down your ideology that you're pushing on towards another because you're lonely, or because you're out of ideas yourself, So walking away from this nitpicking over other people's lives, and also nitpicking over yourselves, and then eventually starting over fresh. So what I mean fresh is like, some people just have to go and do it. I have to go there. I have to apply for the job. I have to make myself there. I have to do it. I have to do that big thing. And not every single person's going to reach that, because it does take a certain type of humility and kindness, as well as lack of ego, to be able to understand that you've overstayed somewhere. you've overdone it, or you have over zealously provided things that were nothing to do with you. And I think most of us have a lot of questions to ask here. Did I really involve in the right game? Did I marry the right person? Did I really go the right way? You know, we all have to ask ourselves that at least at one point of our lives. Like, is this it? Like, is this what life is really? And then we have to basically bring ourselves further for that more emotional and, for some people, sensual or energetic start. As we're not just facing the MC, we are also looking at another vibe. Like, we are looking at a totally different world. We are looking at a totally different system of talking, speaking, managing our money, or just being in the universe. We are looking at a completely different route in some people's cases, as we do not like what we've had before ever so much. So this is like falling out of love and into love again with a completely different person, having totally different habits, having totally different laws and systems of conduct, having a totally different night to day experience, having an absolutely different job, or catastrophically different or even a difficult experience, just because we want to grow and we don't want to do it on the level of how mother or father taught us, or grandfather, grandmother taught us. We, for some reason, really want to extend. So I think that quite many people are going to have some pretty harsh problems this month around, and some big questions to ask themselves, simply because we can't navigate this life any further without some very big needed karmic changes and cleanses and shifts towards better, towards a better location, towards a better dream time, better direction in life, just towards greatness. So there's going to be quite a lot of people shifting. I see also potential of leaving the body, deaths as well, or people wanting to go forward without having to have any of the previous. It's like, if you can imagine, giving everything away and just going, leaving the world behind. So this leaving behind is like, look, I've done all I could on this level of the game, on this mathematical level, and I just couldn't any longer do it. So we have to be very careful here. It doesn't have to sound very dark here. I don't want to accidentally sound dark. We have to be very kind and somehow also hollow and centered as well. So we shouldn't here be a part of this epic movement of people, or this big mind-blowing or giant philosophy. We shouldn't have to take things to a big energy, or go into this big escape, or protrude so epically, unless it's kind of needed, and also unless we still have some backup. So we need to be careful here, and I know that it's not for every single person in the world, this advice, but please consider how much you need. I understand you don't really need that much, and you probably don't even need these things, and a lot of your lifetime will surely improve if you just allow it to leave your life. And all these people, all these ideas, or all these questions and conversations could just be part of somebody else's route. Leave these things, leave them, give them away. And also give away the hopes that you have previously lived, because you see, not a lot of that which was hopeful even just last year is probably going to be hopeful now in some people's lives. And we have to be very careful here and not also, overstate anything right now for me. We've got to basically breathe and believe in the greatness beyond a certain territory, or beyond a certain hunger that we have once had that has landed us where we are today. There is a need to expand and be brave, and to be maybe, slightly terrible sometimes, and also to be able to forgive those feelings and those questions that are coming to mind, as we are all going through a very uncomfortable month this time. I feel that there's going to be a slight psychosis brewing for quite many people in the world. There's going to be a coming of age for some great healers and masters at the same time, that can actually handle it and hack it, and they can see the light from dark and dark from light. and there's going to be a switch back to a certain communal method of making money or growing vegetables, I don't know, growing countries. There's going to be then, I think, eventually an unevolved aspect that also comes out. So I feel that throughout this very dramatic and mind-changing or culminating month of December, we have to really, really bring it all forward if we really have to be that, and know ourselves and know our designs and walk out of those silly methods of, like, say, making money only or doing the best you can for yourself, and try to understand where life is actually at the moment as a global phenomenon, not just like, I'm here, I guess I'm a redhead, I sit here, I don't know, like, smoke a lot and I watch TV and I sit there in my grandfather's slippers and I don't care and I drink bourbon. Like, we don't want these energies that are just full of distraction, and they lack innocence, they lack happiness to follow. So, like, I mean, cut it off if it's not good enough for you. So that's the thing. It's like Netflix and chill is not good enough for you. Drinking alcohol every day or often on occasion isn't very good. Smoking marijuana constantly, smoking cigarettes constantly, like looking at other people, thinking about what other people are doing, looking on TV, looking on social media. Like, you see, like, we really have to get out of there. As a species, we have to understand that, yeah, you're right, maybe you don't owe anybody and you don't have to really do anything else that different. But we need to understand also what can potentially murder the body, the soul, and the mind, and what is also breathless. It doesn't have enough breath, it doesn't have enough potential. It has no healing power, it can't help you, you know. So quite a lot of mind that people have these days, quite a lot of residue from the past and the war and all of this, is just breathless. It has no reality behind it. It has no ground beneath it. It's just like a sorrow and lack of understanding. So we basically have to break ourselves free from certain thought patterns and eventually evolve others. So, like, one thought pattern for me, which is relatively new, I'm eating vegetables, right? Or drinking fruit juice or whatever I'm doing, drinking, eating. I I see now. So this is not just like, for example, okay, I you know peel a banana, I throw it in the bin. No, like, that banana peel is full of potassium that's going back in the soil. Some of the seeds that are left over from, I don't know, a pumpkin or something like that can go in the soil, grow me freaking like a sea of pumpkins. Like, this is not just a cucumber, this is potentially an ocean of cucumbers. So I see that now as a kind of godsend. My partner here, husband, he's working on our little environment. We're making like a little garden. I'm just looking out to it now. We have like a little vegetable garden growing outside. So for example, that was not the pattern last year or last few years, but now it is. So you've got to break free. So it's like, instead of, like, say, a pattern of like, I wake up whenever I want and I sit down on the computer and then the light goes down and I have to go back to bed. You have to get out of this, and you have to say, okay, like, my holy day starts at 7 in the morning. I have to get up at 7. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm a zombie, I will get up and I will say thank you, to the light that we have. I have to say thank you to the weather. I have to say thank you to God for giving me this God-given day. So that's a different pattern. That's a whole different problem to solve. Also, a lot of people that don't understand that sometimes your life could be really narrowed down to certain normal and healing patterns and zones. It's like, for example, going to the park versus standing at the bus stop, or like talking to a toxic, angry person versus listening to classical music. You just make a normal shift. It's a normal thing, just from things that aren't very good for you and that are derogatory, and that will eventually lead you down to things that just basically buoyantly lift you up. We have the south node behind the sun. Sometimes you can't help it, things will happen this month around. It wasn't me, I don't know how that happened. Accidents also, weather, things that are outside of your control, wars, it can happen. So basically, we have to just find our way, find our feet just towards the loveliest things. And yeah, I know, I understand a lot of people are still stuck in apartment and shops and, shopping windows and territories, where they've been used to living like since forever. They didn't want to change and they can't. And they couldn't, even if I made a really good strategy for them, they wouldn't. And that's not a bad thing. Even if, like, I don't know, Elon Musk made a good strategy for them, they wouldn't. So we have to basically talk a little here and try to basically find the backbone of what makes life work, what makes your body work. What is the quintessential diet? What is the quintessential state of consciousness? What is the normal way of life? What is light? What is dark? What is winter? What is summer? And then eventually stick to those very simple reasons why we are who we are and where we are, and then eventually evolve out of that. So yeah, this is a way of evolving the global mind, even if you don't want to do that much in your day, even if you don't want to risk it or push through or experience chaos, to be able to break yourself from things that are just boring and is ongoing. So yeah, that's the thing. The question mark: is the gift worth it? Is like a big gift or a big breakthrough worth it? As you might have to lose a lot. And to me, yeah, I definitely feel it. I feel that there's a lot of worthiness for myself and other beings and other people around. Worthiness comes from simply sensitivity and quantum ability to be not so nervous and not so mind wrecking or not so scared or in distaste or in disgust, and just like starting to basically breathe. And yeah, for lots of us, it's going to be a whole lot of work or a whole lot of pain in order to lead ourselves out of badness and start to go towards that which is mellow and naturally good, like mellow and naturally good. And yeah, I understand we have Christmas. I will do a special special as every year, a little talk about Christmas and the equinox and New Year's, or what they call New Year's, I suppose, in the next coming days. I feel that we don't have to be there anymore. It's just that we keep on participating, and I know a lot of people have a lot of knowledge of this and they trust it and they have faith invested in it. And I do know how to help you here if we look at world history, but I believe that not many people have the time for it. They just want to dress their Christmas tree up and, I don't know, imagine that everything's well in the world. And there's so much pressure, so many people that are failing to fit there. Never mind. I will end this well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a friend of my channel. My new book for the year 2023 is out now. It's been out for like a couple of months, I guess, month and a half. So I have gift of foresight. So yeah, if you would like, have a look. As basically I talk about every single aspect for the year to come, like even breaking up the day in like different parts and telling you what happens on actual days. So it's quite detailed and it's quite intense. I've been making almanacs for, I don't know, like 5 years now, and this is probably the best one. So it doesn't have the days of the week the same as the previous one, so it's not like a little school book anymore. It's more like just explanation of everyday shifts and predictions for different signs for each month. And yes, of course, I also have a Patreon, and on my Patreon is predictions for all signs and daily predictions and such. So have a look in the links below. And yes, I now have 5 channels. I have now 5 channels. Oh, I should probably have said that at the beginning. I now have 5 channels on YouTube. So I have this channel, which is Astrology. I have my music channel, which is just my music. There's a lot of it. A lot of it. Then there is a funky sort of my life and movement practice, yoga and dancing type of channel. Very eccentric, very clear. Then there's also a plant medicine channel where I talk about everything in your kitchen cupboard, and then I talk about, yes, I talk about ayahuasca, and I talk about other plants of the Amazon and such, and how to use them, and how maybe not to use them. And also I have another channel. Yes, I have a political predictions channel. So like all these videos that you've seen on this channel that I eventually kind of like erased or like silenced, muted, simply because I knew that people got really scared. And I didn't want to like push it into people's faces. I didn't want to annoy or confuse anybody. So I'm leaving this channel purely astrology and just life stuff. And then if you want to see the spicy stuff, if you want to see, sorry, it's like flies flying. If you want to see the spicy stuff, there is my humanity channel, where I have some hidden interviews and things, and yeah, lots of different things that probably would help you make sense of the global situation if you're curious. But I don't think that you need it. I don't think most people really necessarily need it. But if you're somebody who is planning a life and you have a family and you're thinking about, like, say, immigration, which is something I talk about a lot on the channel, and you're thinking about philanthropy and what is humanity and what is the worth of anything that we have in our lives, if you really got there and you're asking the big questions, yes, that is a good channel. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. All the links are in the caption section below. And also feel free to get readings with me through my website, which is also in the caption section below. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.